You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
MAGA grows unsettled as Mitch McConnell's health saga sparks national security concerns, based on an article by Alexander Willis. The party of power eats its own silence. A health crisis turned into a political Rorschach test. Mitch McConnell was found unconscious in his home in mid-June, reportedly required CPR, and has not been seen publicly since. That is the core fact. Everything else in this story is a scramble for narrative control, a thin stream of information from his office, a late disclosure of the severity of the incident, and then a MAGA faction rushing to turn a private medical emergency into a spectacle of suspicion. The article is not really about national security. It is about a Republican power structure that has trained its base to treat every opaque event as evidence of conspiracy, then act shocked when that machine is pointed inward. The institution with real power is the one controlling the story. McConnell still matters because he is a sitting senator and a senior Republican power broker. But the immediate institutional actor in this story is his office, which has disclosed little. That silence matters. When a major political figure's condition is concealed, the vacuum is filled by whatever faction is most eager to weaponize it. Kylie Jane Kremer steps into that vacuum with the posture of concern and the instincts of a political arsonist. She is not demanding accountability from power in any serious sense. She is using ambiguity as fuel. The goal is not clarity, it is leverage. Elaine Chao becomes the convenient target. Chao's trip to Beijing, 3 days after McConnell's hospitalization, is the detail that gets inflated into intrigue. The article presents Kremer's suspicion as if it were a substantive question of statecraft. It is not. It is a leap from proximity to guilt, from bad optics to insinuation, from an unsettling timeline to a foreign agent fantasy. That is the familiar method. When the facts are incomplete, the weak link becomes the accusation itself. A spouse becomes a proxy battlefield. A private travel decision becomes a national security issue. The story supplies no evidence that Chao was acting with any government authority, but it does show how quickly the right converts ordinary ambiguity into anti-Chinese paranoia and political theater. This is not oversight. It is grievance performance. Kremer's invocation of the Logan Act reads less like legal concern than like cosplay for the grievance economy. The point is not to establish a case. It is to sound ominous enough that followers mistake insinuation for evidence. George Santos joining in only clarifies the genre, a disgraced Republican amplifying a conspiracy about a former cabinet secretary is not accountability. It is factual cannibalism. The MAGA ecosystem feeds on the idea that hidden betrayals explain everything because that allows it to avoid the more boring truth. Republican governance is often defined by secrecy, loyalty tests, and strategic opacity until the damage is done. The larger pattern is Republican decay, not Democratic failure. What this story actually reveals is the condition of the Republican political machine after years of elevating paranoia as an organizing principle. The movement that spent years normalizing conspiratorial accusation now cannot distinguish between scrutiny and projection. It sees foreign infiltration because it has built a politics that depends on suspicion, not governance. McConnell's silence, Chao's travel, Kremer's allegations, Santos's amplification. This is not a coherent public interest inquiry. It is a power struggle playing dress-up as national defense. The people with the least evidence are the loudest about betrayal. The people with the most institutional power are the quietest about what happened. The real lesson. The story is not that one Republican faction finally discovered principle. It is that the right's politics of permanent suspicion eventually collapses into self-devouring spectacle. When a party teaches its base to believe that every hidden fact is a conspiracy, it should not be surprised when its own elites become objects of the same treatment. That does not make the accusation truer. It makes the political culture more rotten. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Raw Story for today's article with the automated voice of LJ. Thanks for listening.